Nut Nerd Podcast, episode 269. Nice hedge.
Welcome to the Nut Nerd Podcast. I'm Nate Heath, and we are here to help you tech better. Here with me, as always, Mr. Dave Baylor.
Well, hello there, Natey He.
Hello.
My playa, my right-wing man, and my shotgun slayer.
Ooh, man, you got rhymes.
I got some rhymes.
I may or may not have heard a recording of a track by Mr. Dave Baylor this week that might make its way out onto the airwaves at some point, the digital airwaves.
Let's just say, for those who are curious, find me on SoundCloud. I'm not going to tell you how to find me, but it's all there.
Yes. And, of course, we've got plenty of news to talk about, including trying to make sense of the whole GameStop stock market madness. We'll get to that later, but first we got some follow-up. Every quarter I say, I'm not going to talk about Apple's results, but good night. They had a good quarter, their best quarter ever.
How is that even possible?
$111.4 billion with a B dollars in revenue and $28.8 billion with a B dollars in profit.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes, They had double-digit growth, I believe, in every quarter I saw. Everything's gangbusters. I mean, with the new M1 Max and the iPhone 12 lineup that they've got, they are doing very well. And another story kind of tied to that, I think that Tim Cook mentioned possibly, but they shipped 81.8 million with an M iPhones in the quarter. So 82 million iPhones were shipped, and that puts them in the lead of any smartphone manufacturer worldwide, which I was kind of surprised by, because we always think, some of these companies in China and Asia, Samsung, but even above that is Apple. This past quarter, they're great phones. We've talked about them. We have them. I know a lot of people that upgraded this year to the 12, the various 12 models. They have more models. They have cheaper models. They have high-end models. But yeah, Apple is doing well.
Yeah. Who would have thought that one of the largest companies in the world with some of the most cash available to them in the world, with the most desirable products of any other products in the world, would do well? I mean, who would have thought?
Yeah. It's amazing. They got a little momentum. I'm hoping for them. The little guys, they're gonna make it.
Hang in there, Apple.
Yeah, I did see, and I don't even have a link in the show notes, something that the brand value rankings or whatever came out, and Apple passed Amazon.
Wow.
I think they might have been in the lead in the past, but Amazon had passed them a couple years ago, but they're back on top of brand value as well, which isn't directly tied to the stock market, which, as I teased before, we'll get back to the stock market and how that all works a little bit later.
Yeah.
Apple, we talked about the Fitness Plus. I tried it out that once and have not made back to it, sadly. But I know a couple of our listeners I've heard from are using it, got it hooked up. They're getting their workouts in. But they launched their Time to Walk for Fitness Plus this week. And what this is there's been rumors for a long time that Apple was going to get into the podcast game.
Right.
Well, this is kind of at least the beginning of that, where they are doing interviews, or, I haven't listened to any of them yet, but they have 4 episodes with celebrities that you can listen to and kind of time it with a walk. There's Dolly Parton, Draymond Green from the NBA, musician Shawn Mendes, and Emmy Award winner Uzo Aduba. Hopefully that is close to the correct pronunciation.
I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, so the episodes range from 25 to 40 minutes long and are available in the workout application on Apple Watch. So if I'm going to go for a walk, I'm just going to listen to one of my podcasts. So I don't know why I need this, but over time, I'm sure there'll be some that I want to listen to, so I'll probably check it out eventually.
Yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world to get your content on your Apple Watch to go out for a walk and sync it with your headset. My wife has kind of teased about the idea of doing that, but she's never been successful. So
Yeah.
so maybe this will be one step closer for her. If there's content there that she's interested in listening to, maybe she'll do the extra steps necessary to make that happen. But for now, she just takes her phone along with her and listens to her stuff and then has her Apple Watch. But there's a great appeal in having everything you want on the watch, including this new content, which is like a podcast, but maybe not, and
Yes.
your music and all that stuff, just to have a lightweight exercise. So Apple's doing it right, is all I got to say.
Well, this is true. As we our first topic.
Yes.
Well, Plex. We've talked about it. It was my pick of the week a while back. It's or it has been a video and audio server streaming software where you could have a bunch of files and share them to your TV or whatever. They've added in some channels, some digital content, of course, like everybody else. Well, they are launching their game subscription to jump on that bandwagon, along with every other bandwagon that they have jumped on, Plex Arcade. And it will only cost you $3 a month. And the fun part is they are starting off with Atari games. And now, Dave, you and I actually had a discussion this past week about vintage gaming, and I saw some of your Atari 2600 games. But yeah, so they're starting this gaming service using, Centipede, Super Breakout, Missile Command, some of these classics. So I think I'll probably check this out just for the novelty of it. But Plex, they're making some good moves, and it seems like it's becoming a better and better service all the time.
Yeah, I think probably in a few years we'll be putting them in a line with all these other plus services from everybody. So we'll see. They're kind of, they remind me more of a Roku type
Yeah.
underdog who's kind of fighting
Yes.
their way up the ranks.
Yes. So yeah, you can check that out. Check out Plex, and see if you like it. I guess it is $3 if you're already a Plex Pass subscriber, which gives you some added features and some of the content, and then $5 a month if you're not. So I never did sign up for the Plex Plus, but I might look at that too, because it might be worth it with some of the things that I've started to do with it as I organize my digital hoarding and try to make some of that content available where I need it.
Digital hoarding, something we're both very good at.
Yes. And one of your favorite topics, Dave, this is actually a listener question or comment on one of our posts. Chris wanted to know, he wanted you to talk about drones, and I said, is there anything specific? Because that could be a 5 episode stretch of you talking about drones, but he was curious if there was anything in the $100 range that, would take good enough photos and video. And Dave, you're the drone expert, so I figured we'd bring it up on the podcast.
Well, not to drone on and on about it. I'd be happy to talk about it. Whenever anyone mentions sub $100 drone, I have two things that pop into my mind. The first one is around $40 or $50. It's the Syma quadcopter that's got a little camera. You had one. I think you ended up giving it to me.
Yeah.
I had one. I don't fly it anymore because I have better drones, but it's a Syma, and I can't remember the style of it. But Syma, that company makes a lot of very affordable drones, and they've gotten better since I purchased that one many years ago.
Yeah.
But what they are is just a very lightweight drone. They have a camera on them, but they don't have visual feedback that comes back to like your phone or your controller. You just fly them by looking around at them, and you can hit record on the camera. And then when you get back, you can take the SD card out, put it in your computer, and look at what you recorded. Now, the footage isn't that great, but it's better than no footage at all. But those things are easy to fly, and they're so much fun. And since they're so inexpensive, if you crash them, well, one, they're virtually indestructible. But if you do crash them or lose them, it's like, whatever, I had a good time. If you want to bump up a notch, the one that, again, comes to mind, now I've not ever purchased one of these and tried these, but I've read a lot of reviews. You can find them at your nearest Walmart and other stores, but it's the DJI Trello. These come in right at $100, probably $99.99. And they're they use DJI technology, even though I think they're produced by another company, but they partnered with DJI to make this thing. And very similar to the Syma, but I think that you can actually get visual feedback on your phone, and I think that's how you actually control it, is with your phone, left, right, up, and down with the touch screen and all that stuff. So that would be one to take a look at if you're looking for something in that range. Now, you can still get the Bebop drone by Parrot, and the Bebop 2 is a drone, and it's going to set you back probably $250 to $300. I don't think they make it anymore, but you can still find it, and that would be my next recommendation as far as something a little bit over the $100 range. And it's actually rather good. It's just like flying a professional drone. It's just that the camera quality is just a little bit less than you'd find on some of the more expensive models, but you get the visual feedback. It's got great battery life, the whole deal.
Nice. And as you were droning on, I pulled up Amazon and I do see the Ryze Tech Tello.
Yeah, I said Trello. It's
Yes, Tello. Too many digital names these days, but yeah, $99
Tello
on Amazon. And I did look up the Syma as well, and they have a couple different models. They actually have a 4K one with the Wi-Fi stuff, so you can view it for looks like $200.
Yeah.
And then they have another one about $60, 55, $60 that does have the Wi-Fi transmission as well. So yeah, if the Syma, that's probably a good starting point if you're just looking to get into drones and have something to get some, footage of the family or whatever. But yeah, well,
they're a lot
thank
of
you
fun.
for that, Dave, because that is not my specialty.
Well, you're welcome. You can't go wrong with DJI, Parrot, or Syma, however you say it. They're all great companies.
Nice. Well, you know what else is great company? Dave's pro tip of the week.
So one of the things I want to talk about today is video and file image formats. So one of the things that Apple has done recently is they've introduced their high efficiency codecs, and this is both for images you take on your phone and video you take on your phone. And you may remember last year, I think listener Todd was having some trouble with, he took some pictures and he tried to send them to somebody and they wouldn't open, and he had to download a converter, and it was all this drama, as it often is with Todd. He doesn't watch the show, so I'm not worried about it. But there's some settings in your phone that you should probably be aware of, because it can help you avoid confusion if you're sharing your files with maybe third-party video or image editors or a PC user or anything else like that. So if you go into your settings and you scroll down to the camera, see if I can find it here. It's kind of far down. It's under TV, photos, and camera. There's a formats option at the very top of that section. And in that, you're going to see high efficiency and you're going to see most compatible. Now, I'll just read what it says here. To reduce file size, capture photos and videos in high efficiency, HEIF or HEVC format. Most compatible will always use the JPEG for images or H.264 for video at 4K at 60 frames per second, 1080p at 240, 1080p at 240 frames per second, and HDR video. Those require high efficiency. So, why am I telling you this? Because if you're not a person who uses the high efficiency stuff and all the crazy stuff, but you do a lot of video and image sharing, you might consider turning it off. Now, if you're well enveloped in the Apple ecosystem, you use Apple Photos, you use Final Cut Pro or GarageBand or any of these other Apple, not GarageBand, iMovie is what I'm thinking of, to do video and audio stuff, then you're probably going to be okay. But again, if you're sharing any of these formats out with clients, with non-compatible Apple devices, you're going to want to turn that off. Now, Nate, have you had any experience with incompatibilities using Apple's formats as of late?
Funny you should ask, because I do also use a Windows computer on occasion. I have a Windows computer, and I did have some of these file formats. And it was just this morning, not knowing that you were going to talk about this today, that I was looking at that. And I'm going to include a link in the show notes for Windows 10 to be able to view those. Now, I have not had any compatibility issues. I'm not sure if when you share uh, share the images via like iMessage, I think it actually converts them
Yeah.
to the regular format. So Apple does do a lot of work behind the scenes, but I think that is good to be aware. But there are a couple free extensions you can get for Windows 10. Why they don't have it built in automatically? I think the images work fine, but the videos can have issues on Windows. But it is good, something good just to be aware of.
Mm-hmm. I've had some trouble recently uploading images to internet websites, Facebook or Instagram and those type of things. Usually they work, but there are some other ones that you might want to upload an image to, or if you're using, like I do some crazy, you upload an image to do like AI type stuff on it, where they reconstruct the face and do, like I think I've mentioned it before as a pick of the week, the Remini. Am I saying it right? Yeah, Remini. Remini is the name of it. It's an app that you take an old photo and it like redoes the face, makes it clearer and sharper, but it uses artificial intelligence to put in those pieces. And there are a bunch of websites that do the same thing, and they require you typically to upload a JPEG. And if you've taken photos, like if you have an old picture of grandma and you take it with your iPhone and you try to upload it, it just doesn't work because it's in this high efficiency format that not all websites honor. So that's just something to look out for. And you can always convert them as well. Um, uh, this is an extended pro tip. If you do use Apple Photos and you have all of your photos and videos in there, select one or more photos and then go to the export, not to the save as, but go to the export on your computer, and you can export it as a PNG, as a JPEG, as a whatever you want to export it as. And typically that conversion to a JPEG will solve all your problems.
Yes, and they are a very highly efficient file format, so they save you a lot of space, which is the advantage, and
Right.
you're not losing a whole lot else. So they are good formats. Well, let's move on to our takes of the week, and we could go nowhere else than to start with the GameStop phenomenon. It's the latest thing that everybody is talking about and trying to figure out, and I think just about every podcast period I listened to this week was discussing this and trying to understand it, and I heard some very bad, bad explanations of what has happened and how short stocks work and all of this stuff. So you, the listener, have probably heard some about it. Basically, what happened is there's a Reddit, Wall Street Bets, a subreddit that had a lot of followers, and most of the subreddit was just people saying, this stock's going to go to the moon, or this stock's going to crash, so I'm betting this, and then showing their big wins. Oh, I made a lot of money, or oh, I failed pretty bad on this. So much like most of Reddit, just trying to find the humor in life.
Yeah, it's like a stock market therapy group, support
Yes.
group.
Yes. And so there, for several months, there had been some rumblings about GameStop. Now, I will stop here. I asked Dave right away when I found out about this if he had any GameStop stock, because I know you have one not too far from you, and you love video games, and you've been going through your games, and you're always buying and selling and everything. Sadly, you did not.
I did not, because I anticipated them going bankrupt anytime soon, and I don't touch companies that are about to go bankrupt.
Yes. Yes. Well, and I was having a discussion with another friend and just talking about how risk adverse, because one of the other stocks that was bumped up this last week was Fizz, which is National Beverage Company, which makes LaCroix. I'm not drinking LaCroix brand today, and I was always like, I should invest in LaCroix. I love that. Like when
Yeah.
I first started drinking it, and I was like, well, there's other brands coming out now. Are they really going to do well? They've got a bigger portfolio of beverages than just LaCroix, but I never invested, and this week would have been a good time to have some of those stocks. So back to GameStop. So this subreddit, they started investing in it, and they realized that there was a lot of these hedge funds, which I will say, it's a hedge funds is a misnomer in the case of some of these ones that were affected, because they did not have their bets hedged too well.
No,
And
they're playing fast and loose.
yes, so they had invested a lot of money in GameStop failing, much like you felt, much like a lot of people felt. And so then when the Redditors, as we'll call them, started buying up the stock and driving up the price, it really puts these hedge fund or people that were trying to short the stock
Right.
in a bad place. Now, do not take any financial advice from us. That is not what we do. Shorting a stock, the stock market's always a gamble. There's always fluctuations. You never know what's going to happen to a company. There could be some, conspiracy or some, big event that happens, like SolarWinds, that big data breach. You could have thought they were a good, solid company. That happens. Their stock tanks. But the difference, if I put $20 into Apple stock, I'm planning, and I do own some Apple stock, I'm planning that it's going to go up, but I can only lose $20. Well, when you get into shorting stocks, you could make up to, if it went down to zero with that same $20, if it goes all the way down, you could get $20 per share. But if the stock goes up, it is infinite how much you could lose. That's why it is a very high risk thing. Now, nobody in the world expected GameStop to go up to, it was like $350 for a while.
Yeah, and
it's
it was
been
like
fluctuating.
$28, like last year it was $28 or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah, so what it's been, and then all this other information comes out. Robinhood, which is a stock app that I believe, Dave, you've picked as a pick of the week. You use that to manage your stocks. They've got a lot of great features. Well, this is where the average person goes to buy stock. So most of these Redditors were using Robinhood because there's no fees and you can pay.
And it's easy to use, and it's on your phone.
You can do partial shares, much like Stash, which I use. It's very easy to use. You don't have to have a stockbroker. You don't have to call Wall Street to get anything taken care of.
The president of the bank doesn't have to get on the phone and do one of those swipey machines that goes,
send you the carbon copy, and
the friction is very low.
Yes, but with those no fees, you have to figure Robinhood's making money. So there's a Twitter thread that I have linked in the show notes discussing the fact that the reason why Robinhood is free is all of the trades in the split second before your trade goes through. One of the big investors, hedge fund manager, whoever it is, they get that data, so they know, and they have probably AI and systems in place that says, hey, if 100 people start buying this stock, buy $1,000 worth or $10,000 worth. So that, and they pay Robinhood for that data. So it goes back to our data being everywhere and things we don't really realize, and the nearly always true statement. If it's free, you're not the customer, you're the product.
You're the product, yeah.
So with Robinhood, we kind of through this, everybody realized that with Robinhood, you are the product because that data is extremely valuable to this company to be able to get, basically kind of insider information on what everybody's doing in the stock world. So I think that's and then the government gets involved, and then Robinhood, they shut down buying and selling there was American Airlines and Bed Bath & Beyond and some other stocks that the Redditors had decided, hey, let's shoot these to the moon.
Yeah.
But
with our diamond hands. Diamond hands.
Yeah, so there was a couple hedge funds that basically possibly are going to get wiped out through this,
Yeah.
just because they were so invested in shorting GameStop and some of these other stocks. Now they just can't, and they're scrambling to get money to do this. And
Well, and before you
so
feel sorry for the hedge funds, this is a bed that they made that they're having to lie in, because for years they've been able to manipulate the stock market and do whatever they want to do. They can put out some press that makes the stock go down. And of course, they've set up everything ahead of time to their advantage. But when an outside group like the millions of Redditors who have kind of joined together to do something different than what they had planned, it really throws a monkey wrench in for them. But like I said, don't feel sorry for them. You should be celebrating that capitalism and free enterprise and social media and the everyman being able to make a gain, where these big corporations who are, with billions of dollars that keep doctoring everything and keeping the poor poor and keeping the rich rich, that they're being hurt a little bit. And so for a guy like me who always likes to root for the underdog, it's kind of exciting, actually.
yeah, and it's Citadel is the leading investor, the one that gets all the Robinhood data and some of the other things. And again, we could talk about this forever. There's so many different layers on this, but I agree. It's there's a lot of very rich people in the hedge funds and all this stock stuff that have been able to manipulate the system for a long time, and now the little guys are taking them back, and it's still complicated. It's not that simple.
I don't understand it at all, but it's fun to watch.
Yeah, yes, and I sent you a screenshot. I actually bought $20 of GameStop way after it had gone way up, so I probably won't make any money off of it. But I'm like, hey, you know what? I've got $20 in my account. I'm gonna put something in there so I can say that I'm part of it. And then you said that you had bought a little bit as well.
Yep, just to say I was there. So when my grandkids ask about the great GameStop renaissance of 2021, I'll say I was there, and I lost $20 for the little man.
I think you also invested in AMC movie theaters, which is one of the other ones that GameStop was the biggest, but there were several others. And I actually was reading an article this morning that said that AMC might be saved because of this, because their stock price has gone up so much that they can sell enough, because obviously the movie theaters are not doing real hot right now.
Yeah, movies and video games are close to my heart, so if any way I can help.
Yes, and there was one other link I have in the show notes that Robinhood, once this blowback started, when everybody started finding out about Citadel and they were shutting down the stocks, Google removed 100,000 negative reviews of Robinhood on the Google Play Store that had happened all in one period. So that's a whole nother layer of Google just saying, well, people don't like the app. We're just going to wipe out these reviews. And
censorship? I don't know. You decide.
Never. Speaking of censorship, Twitter launched Birdwatch this past week, and it is their new system for reporting tweets, which is done by the people instead of their internal teams and their AI and machine learning, because that's everywhere. But this is their service. It looks like it's pretty well integrated. And I think from the article from NBC News I was reading, you have to kind of apply to be a part of it. So there's kind of a verification so that everybody in the world can't just have 100 Twitter accounts. So you could go in and just report a tweet you don't like. But it does get very granular when you're reporting a tweet on if it could be viewed as misinformation. There was even something about satire, and just it's going to give Twitter a whole bunch of feedback. But also, as mentioned in the article, it allows a lot of room for things to get mislabeled, or a bunch of Redditors who don't like somebody to go and start reporting all their tweets. So it could be good, it could be bad. Isn't that what we should end every story we talk about? Could be good, it could be bad. So yes, that is Birdwatch. And there seems to be a trend this week. Our next story, Amazon removed 2 million products last year for violations. They came out with a report on their 2020 stuff, and 10,000 products a day that they're reviewing, and then removing ones that violate, whether it's copyright, whether it's misleading, all of that kind of stuff. And hey, surprise, a bunch of it was done by AI and machine learning to filter out the most of them, and then there's some human review as well. But if you shop on Amazon a lot, there are just some crazy products on there. I just returned 2 different not knockoffs, but alternative Apple pencils that, listener Wes had asked, hey, are these any good, or should I buy the real one? And we did some testing, the 2 of us, and I will tell you, spoiler alert, I've got a video coming on this, but spoiler alert, go with the Apple pencils.
I told you so.
Yep. I knew it, but for you, the listeners, for Wes,
you gotta, verify, trust and verify, right?
Yes, the Apple Pencil comes in somewhere around 100. These ones were somewhere around 20. So if you could save $80 and get a good enough experience, yes, but that was not what I found. So Amazon removing products is a good thing. Is a summary of that. Now, I just because I haven't thrown it out yet, I will remind people we are the most nonpartisan tech podcast on the internet. But this is consistent, and I don't believe it's partisan, but I wanted to share this story about the CDC ordering software to track vaccine rollout, spending somewhere near $44 million for this database service, and it failing horribly. And again, we've kind of mentioned the last couple of weeks, this stuff happens all the time in government. It's just that everybody's paying attention now with coronavirus and how much that's consumed our lives. But this VAMS system that they developed, and it was a no-bid contract for Deloitte, got this no-bid contract to make this system. They didn't really have experience making this system, and then all the states that are trying to use it say it works some of the time. It's not great, so we're not going to use it.
Next time they should hire you and me to put something together.
Yes,
you have some experience in developing a database, and I've ran Excel before, so I kind of know. So the 2 of us probably could have done just as good a job. Yeah,
we'd do it for $39 million, but it's just frustrating to see things like this that could be done right, and then just because of red tape and the way our government tends to work, it doesn't get done right. And they even mention like the company who did the healthcare.gov website originally that was a huge failure, and they still continue to get contracts with the government because of how it's set up. And
when I'm president, Nate, you have my guarantee. This is my my campaign promise that whenever there's stuff like this, I'm going to be using the big guys. It's like, oh, we need to develop some technology in handheld computer type stuff. You know what? Apple's going to make that for us. We're going to need a database or something. Google's going to do that for us. We're going to need an operating system. Microsoft's going to do that for us. I don't know why they mess around with all these little plays.
Oh, you mean like Apple and Google creating the contact tracing app that Oregon is still not using?
Yeah, that nobody uses. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, don't get me started. But I'm being a little facetious on those companies. They oftentimes don't even do that type of work. So, but you know what I mean? IBM and all these great American companies that get the job done, that know how to do these things. Oftentimes we contract with companies outside the United States even to provide these services. It's like, what are you thinking?
Yes. Well, this is where we would usually put our security and privacy story of the week, but nobody seemed to notice, or at least mention the fact that last week, due to a editing flub, it was cut out of the episode. It wasn't that important. It was Sonic Wall and a VPN breach thing. But Dave and I talked this week, and man, it just gets depressing. So if there is a big one, we'll include it in our takes of the week. But you did share something. So as our final security and privacy story of the week, a nice positive, well, I don't know if it's positive, but a very well done document done by Apple. It's actually a PDF, and it's called A Day in the Life of Your Data, a father-daughter day at the playground. And it goes through, and it's done very, very nicely, some nice graphics. And it talks about father and his daughter who decide to go to the park, and just all the different places where your data is being taken and shared from that. And then, of course, at the end, how Apple helps protect that data.
And it's only 9 pages. It's an easy read.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's a quick little read. It's got some good information and makes you aware of just kind of where your data is going. Now, I will say, as somebody for my business, I help people advertise online and utilize some of this data for targeted advertising, and that's always my position. If the data is being used correctly to give me better ads for something that would make my life better, that's great. The problem comes in when your data is just being shipped all over the world and shared with all these different places that are going to do
when
bad
it's being
stuff with
taken
it.
from you versus
Yes.
giving willingly.
Yes, yes. So Apple is definitely at the forefront of trying to protect your data and limit where it goes and give you information about that. And this PDF does a very good job of explaining that.
Good. Yeah, it's neat. I'm glad I found it.
Yes. For our bonus odd take of the week, something a little different that I came across on cotkey.org, where I find a lot of the bonus odd takes of the week. But this was a document done by Connor Barnes at ideopunk.com. But he did 100 tips for a better life. Now, I will say 100 tips for your life is a lot. I read through all 100. I don't necessarily spot on agree with all of them, but he's got them broken down into different sections. Like the first one is possessions, and a couple of them that I like. Things you use for a significant fraction of your life. Bed, 1/3 of your life. Office chair, 1/4 of your life. I would say your computer, your phone aren't on there, are worth investing in. This is one of those things that you start to realize in life. When your bed's uncomfortable, that does not help anything. He does talk about sleep and some of that stuff in some of the later ones. Number 4, I like this one. Where is the good knife? Many people will ask. It says, if you're looking for your good ex, you have bad exes. Throw those out. And, this is so true. You're like, oh, the bad knife is the one I have here. It's
Where's the good fork? It's like, why do we have bad forks?
Yeah.
They're not that expensive.
Everybody should have Knorks.
Well, of course.
The best fork. And number 5, one more I'll mention, and we could go through a lot of these, but I do encourage you to read it because you can take some snippets out that will apply to your life and make a difference. Number 5, if your work is done on a computer, get a second monitor. Less time navigating between windows means more time for thinking. And this is something we have talked about a lot. We both use dual monitors whenever possible, even though we have laptops. And I try with my clients, I'm like, it would be really helpful if you had dual monitors. We talked about the program for teachers a while back. So seeing those 3 in a row near the beginning drew me in to keep reading.
Yeah, I haven't taken a look at this yet, so I'm going to go through and see what information I can glean. But
yes, we could have actually not shared this,
Yeah.
and you could have used it and had 100 pro tips of the week all in a row.
Well, we're generous like that. We don't want to withhold
Yes.
information.
Yes.
I've got one, if it's not on this list already. Get some comfortable shoes. Why are you wearing shoes that are uncomfortable? I mean, come on. Yeah.
I don't think that was on there, and that is a good one. But there's some very good stuff. Again, I don't agree with all 100 tips, but you might, and you might not agree with any of them. And if you don't, let us know. But it's a good thing to read through and think about. Maybe write a couple down or copy and paste them for later. That would be good. And you know what else is good? Our picks of the week.
Yes, and before we get into our picks of the week, I want to remind you, if you're watching this on video, to like and subscribe to our channel. What is it?
Yes.
Smash that
Smash that bell.
Smash that bell. There was a guy thanks. There was a guy I was watching the other day, and is at the end of his video, and he says, "Smash that like button." He goes, "Oh, I just used that non-ironically." He's like, I have to go think about my life real quick, because he'd been so ingrained.
Yes.
He just said it.
Yes.
It was funny. But
No.
picks of the week. So I want to give a little tip of the old hat, which I'm not wearing today, to Mr. Tyler, who kind of recommended a setup for the Apple MagSafe ecosystem that you might have for your new iPhone 12, 12 mini, 12 Pro, 12 Pro Max, 12 Plus,
Yes.
12 minus,
All the
plus equals. So, we all know you can spend $50 plus for Apple's version of a MagSafe case that you can use with various MagSafe products, but there are third-party ones, and I've been kind of waiting around for third-party manufacturers to make good MagSafe products, and I found one, and actually I think I have the box right back here as I tear up everything, but it's the Spigen or Spigen, depending on how you want to pronounce it, iPhone 12 Max Mag Armor. It's the Mag Armor, and I actually have it on my phone right here. So it's got this kind of diagonal pinstripe design. The plastic is more of a slick versus a grippy type of plastic. It's not like the satin kind that's kind of, can kind of stick to your hand a little bit. And then inside, it's got a ring of magnets that align with MagSafe products. Now, my pick of the week next week, once I have a opportunity to test it out more, is going to be something that you might put in your car to work with this item. But in my limited testing of the case, which it's probably been 2 or 3 days since I've got it, it's been on here the whole time. I use it morning, noon, and night. I like it. I like it as well as my previous Spigen case that I had on there. So if you're looking for a MagSafe alternative, this is the one to get. And I didn't look at the price here. I don't know if you've looked it up. If you click the link, it looks like you can pick this baby up for a cool $19, $18.99 right now. Sometimes they have the little checkbox that you can click to save even more. But it looks like it retails for $22. You can get it for $19 on Amazon.
Nice. And I did notice, looking at the page, there isn't the coupon button, but there is a little extra savings section that if you hover over that, it looks like there's some, when you buy this and some other things, you can save 10% or 15%. So, make sure you're looking at those Amazon pages. I know I get guilty. There was something the other day that I was going to buy, and there was a coupon, but I was just click, 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 and I forgot to do. It was a couple bucks that I would have saved.
But still, it adds up.
Slow down. Slow down. Well, my pick of the week this week, we have talked a lot about Wyze and all of their great products, and I am finally in the Wyze world. And last week, I set up my Wyze thermostat. So I now have a smart thermostat. Our house had the original Honeywell impossible to program, never know what it's actually doing thermostat on there. So I probably took me maybe 45 minutes in total. I had to climb up in the attic to get to the furnace, so that took a while. But I've set up a couple Wyze products now, and they make it real easy because you open up the app on your phone, you say add device, and it walks you through every step on your phone. And it tells you, and then it checks when it can to make sure wires are correct. It actually had me take pictures of how the thermostat was wired before and on the furnace, so it would save that in there in case you needed to go back and look at anything.
Right.
I think this was only $30 for a smart thermostat, and so far so good. We're pretty simple. We just keep our temperature the same. It's funny. We actually figured out, and it's been pretty cold here. I think it was Monday after I set it up, their automatic scheduling figured that people would be at work at Monday, and it turned the temperature way down. And it's like, yes, that used to be a thing that people did.
Not so
leave
much
the house
anymore. One thing I just thought of, because I don't have one of these, I was kind of waiting for you to test it out.
Yeah.
Is oftentimes what's happens in our house is the downstairs gets really cold and the upstairs gets really warm, but overnight everything is cold. So we typically go downstairs, turn on the heater, run back upstairs, get in bed for a few minutes. Just think what I could do with my phone. I could just turn the heater
Yeah.
on from the comfort of my bed. That's like a selling point right there. So I might have to check this out.
Yes, and it's actually $60. I was
Oh,
wrong. So
well,
$60, but I looked on Amazon here, and like the Google Nest is 130, Echobee's 160,
mm-hmm.
the Honeywell Smart One's 130, so about half the price at least of the other smart thermostats out there. So
Yeah, I'm very
uh,
interested in checking it out.
yeah, we have a very simple HVAC system here. It's not rocket science, so I figured $60 is worth a try, and so far I'm happy with it.
Good. Good to hear.
And our Ramazon purchase of the week, we love it when you guys all of you people go through our Amazon links to purchase things on Amazon, and we get to look at the anonymous reports and see what you're buying. And I actually, very excited, I've kind of mentioned it. I was looking through the report again, and it'll tell me products that were purchased directly through our links. So, like on the Not Nerd website, where we have the Pix store, where it links into the Amazon affiliate system, there was a couple items, Apple TV, covers, and a couple other things that were directly from our picks. So, we
Nice.
are talking about some good things, and we're helping people out. But this week, we've got a product that, Dave, I believe you're pretty familiar with. It's not quite as odd as some of them. And I will say, we did find out that the beverage, the cocktail making kit, the scientific one last week was Todd that purchased it for someone for a gift.
Yeah.
So he was familiar with it. It was actually the second one he had purchased for somebody. So he was very excited to win the Ramazon pick of the week. We should give him a prize at some point.
The prize is being recognized on the show. That's the prize.
Yes. Yes. So this week, somebody purchased the Fire TV Stick Lite with Alexa Voice Remote Lite, no TV controls, HD streaming device 2020 release. I had one of the very old Amazon Fire Sticks, and then somebody actually gave my parents one of the new ones this last week, and I helped them get set up. And I will say this, the setup experience is much better than 5 or 6 years ago when I set mine up, and they've improved the devices. But these are really great devices. Now, the light one is the cheapest,
Yeah.
and that's $22.
Hmm.
And then they have the regular TV stick at 40, the 4K at 50, and then the Fire TV Cube at 120. But if you've got a 4K TV and it's not a smart TV or doesn't have the features you want, they have the 4K one. The one my parents got was just the normal Fire TV stick, which does 1080p and a lot of the other features. And the remote is nicer than this $22 one because you can control your TV volume and stuff like that.
That's the
with
main thing
remote.
you want to do anyway, is the volume. Everything else, it's like it goes through the stick, so it's not that big a deal.
Yes, but they do have, you can get the Apple TV app on there to do the Apple TV Plus content. I think at this point, now that, Amazon and Google and Apple are all kind of being a little friendlier on some of their products. Dave, are you aware of anything that the Fire TV Stick doesn't have service-wise?
Nope. As far as I know, it's got all the big players that you could ever want to watch. All the Google stuff, all the Amazon stuff, all the Apple stuff, Netflix, HBO, everything.
Yeah, so I recommend these. I recommend the Roku devices. I actually have the new Google Chromecast, which is vastly improved, but I have not plugged it in yet, so I can't recommend that. The Apple TV is great, but as we always say, it is very expensive compared to these other devices. So this is a great option if you have, like my parents had a Roku that I had given them, and they were going to pass that on to somebody else who just has a TV that's not a smart TV, so they don't have access to any of this stuff.
I do want to say that mentioned Google content on your Fire Stick. There, you may have to do a workaround to get the Google Play content on there, but it is possible. It may just be a little bit bigger pain in the rear. But
Yes.
I mean, I'll do some research and let you know next week whether the Google TV app is available. I mean, it seems silly that that Google wouldn't provide that, but we shall see.
Yes, yes. Well, with that, I think we're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for partaking in another one. We love seeing those podcast downloads increase and the YouTube views now that we've got that going. It's a fun way to do it, and people seem to be enjoying that. Leave us a comment on the YouTube video, and like Dave said, hit that subscribe button, the like, ring that bell so that you'll know as soon as the episode is ready for your consumption, so you can get out there and tech better.
I'm going to clap again. We probably should have clapped after your video. Or maybe I should have you clap too. Oh, your video just died. There it is.